Hey everybody, I'm Sarah, Lonesome Glory, and today I'm going to do some really terrible model horse science to try and answer the biggest BreyerFest 2025 question. What is the Seize the Day surprise mold? Let's get started. I've done one of these surprise conspiracy type videos since every year for BreyerFest, really since I started this channel, and this year is going to be no exception. I have figured out my top 5 and my one guess. I will say I kind of hedged that given that this is an anniversary year, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I will also give Khaleesi a chance to choose a surprise mold. There she is, here to help. That you couldn't have timed that better, baby girl. Yes. Do you want to say hi? You're going to get a chance to choose. Yes. I will let you pick. Just, no, not right now. You have to wait. What is up there? I don't know what she sees. Anyway, Khaleesi will get an opportunity to pick, but that will be at the end of the video. So watch till the end for both my pick and hers. Before I delve too deeply into my selection and the process that I used, let's start with just a really basic, really short primer on what we're even doing here. Every year as part of BreyerFest, at least for the last 15 years, Breyer has made one of the special run models what they call their surprise. It's a blind bag. And in addition to being a blind bag, with the exception of the first couple of years, we don't even know what mold it's going to be on, let alone what colors. They usually release between 5 and 6 colorways on the mold that is chosen to be the surprise model. And there's usually a glossy and matte split as well, with there being fewer glossies traditionally than matte. So what everyone is trying to divine right here before BreyerFest is what mold could it be? How do we figure out what this could possibly be? Breyer keeps it very hush-hush. The only thing we know about the surprise model is the little logo that they gave us for it. It's called the Seize the Day Surprise. And we know what it's going to cost, which traditionally has been about $85. I think that it went up to $90 this year, but it's right there in that range. Given that, the other thing that we know is it will be a traditional model. They've never done a smaller scale on it, and given the price point, I don't think they would. I think that they would probably have some kind of upset collectors if they decided to make the surprise model, say, a classic sized, at least without telling people that. So, knowing that this is a traditional sized model, we have a place to start. There are 192 traditional molds that Breyer has either released or announced as of right now. Now, there's a couple in there that haven't been released. They're for the Premier Club this year, but we'll talk about them later. Right now, we're just going to start with that main number, 192. We know that the surprise model will be a horse, not a colt or a filly or a foal. There's just a size difference. It's kind of like why they wouldn't do a classic size surprise model. So that gets rid of 25 molds. Breyer has 25 traditional full molds. So 192, that means we got 167. That's still too many to even start looking at. The next thing we know is that it's not going to be a pony, at least not one of the smaller ponies. And we know it's not going to be an equid of any variety that isn't a horse. So there's 20 of them. That does include the brand new Premier Club Mule that's coming out later this year. So they're gone. I did leave in larger ponies like Astrid, the Norwegian Fjord, or the Icelandic pony because they are larger. I'm not sure that Breyer will use them, but because they're closer to the size of a full-size traditional horse, I went ahead and left them for now. The next thing that we know is that there are 15 prior surprise models. So all of those can be taken out of the running. They are not going to reuse a surprise model, at least while they have so many molds to choose from. Getting rid of ponies, getting rid of the surprises, we're left with 132. That is still way too many. So this time I've taken out molds that they can't use. Number one is Alborozo. That mold has been destroyed. I know they just announced the big Pegasus on it. At 2008 BreyerFest, they showed us pictures of the destroyed injection mold. They did keep, and they've said multiple times in press releases and in posts, they kept some factory blanks. That's where that guy came from. There's not enough of them around to do a 3,000 or a 4,000 model run. So it's not Alborozo. That's not happening. It also won't be, I think Cosmo is his name, the brand new Premier Club model. Part of the deal with the club is that the people who are in the Premier Club are supposed to be the first ones to get their hands on them. So they won't use it as a surprise model the same year it is released. Next year, all bets are off, but this year they won't use it. But that only gets me to 130 molds. So now we have to really start cutting. What we know from the past is that Breyer's only used a vintage type mold one time, and that was the quarter horse gelding mold. It was the very first surprise model. That's the only time they've ever used a vintage mold. A lot of the vintage molds aren't super popular, and they might have trouble selling out of. So I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of any kind of vintage mold. There are 64 by my count, at least left, that hadn't already been gotten rid of before because of another reason. So that leaves us with 66. We're getting somewhere, but we're not there yet because this is Breyer's 75th anniversary. This is a big deal to them. All bets are off. They have made, I'm sure they've got some surprises for us. Let's just say it like that. I'm going to put 6 of those vintage horses back in the running for now. I'm going to add Adios, the Fighting Stallion, the Indian Pony, Lady Faze, the Proud Arabian Mare, and the Cimmerian Mustang. I'm putting them back in the running. I still think they're long shots, but they're probably the most popular of the older molds. And I could see Breyer throwing us for a loop and doing something big on an older mold with some updated colors for their 75th anniversary. So that brings us now up to 72. Breyer has never had the surprise mold be the same as another special run from the same year. So I went ahead and took out 16 molds that I hadn't already taken out of the running, but 16 molds that are being used this year. I took out those 16, which got me to 57. Still making progress, but not enough to really work with. The other thing I've noticed in the 15 years that I've been going to BreyerFest and that Breyer has been making a surprise model is that the surprise model mold is never an auction horse. I don't know why that is. Maybe they feel like whoever's favorite mold that is, they've tortured enough for 1 year. Maybe it's an oversight. I don't know. But it has never happened. That said, there are 8 of them that are still on my list that we have seen pictures of, either announced on Breyer's site or in the program, the part of the program that they released early. So I took those 8 out of the running. Now I'm down to 48. This is the part where determining what the surprise model might be really becomes very subjective. I have 48 molds left. That's still a lot. I have got to cut it down. And the first thing I do is I cut down what I think are kind of unpopular molds. I don't have any problem with any of these molds. I don't think they're bad. However, Breyer is trying to sell out of this surprise. And the molds that I have gotten rid of at this point, they might have a hard time doing. They're not going to be part of what I'm going to consider, although Breyer could prove me wrong. And one of these days they're going to, it's going to be great. I'm not going to go through all 34 that are left. If I'm doing this right in editing, you'll see a little scroller of them over here. Now it's purely subjective. I took out 19 molds that I just, for whatever reason, gut feeling, or just that I don't know that they're that popular, or that I just don't see Breyer doing it. I got rid of them. So those are Adios because it's vintage. Bluegrass Bandit. It was the volunteer last year with 3 different colorways. I think they might give it a break. George, Geronimo. Geronimo's been used for the Orin Mixer horses. So there's been quite a few colors on him. So maybe they're going to let him have a break. I got rid of the Norwegian Fjord Pony here because it's a pony, and Shannondale because it's a big drafter. I also got rid of ones that had really big bases. Not that Breyer hasn't done a base before. We saw Smarty Jones was the surprise. But Ruffian, Vallegro, Newsworthy, the new Standardbred, the Constantia, I just don't see that being the model that they choose. So I got rid of 19 molds that way. After that cut, we are left with 15. This is a number I can work with. Here's what I have left on my list. The Andalusian mare, that's the trotting one that initially came with a foal. Ashquar, the Arabian. Desatado, the Frisian sport horse or Vermeer. The Indian pony. The Lipizan or Stallion, that's the new rearing one. The Morgan Stallion or Troubadour. The Mustang mare, that's Forever Sage. The Mustang Stallion, which is Fireheart. The Paso Fino, that's the new mold. The semi-rearing Mustang for the vintage. Hi, honey. The Show Stance Arabian mare, which is the new release for the Premier Club a couple years ago. Smart Chicolina, because one of these years Breyer's going to use him. Strapless, and then the Trotting Arabian mare, which is Weather Girl. So of those 15, now I just have to pick what I think it's going to be. And I do have a final pick, and I do have a top 5. So in no particular order, let's start with my top 5. Number 1, I think that it could be Desatado. He is a really nice, really dynamic mold. I think he's reasonably popular. And if Breyer wanted something that would stand out for their 75th, choosing a rearing model, they could make a worse choice. So I like him. I like his shots. Next up is the Frisian sport horse or Vermeer. This is actually Vermeer that I have here. He's really pretty. He is, I also think, reasonably popular. There haven't been a lot of colors on him yet. I think there's only been 4 or 5. So there's a lot of things that they could do. And I think he would be a good choice. Next up is the Morgan Stallion. And forgive me, all of my troubadours are downstairs except this one. So we get to see him in the box. This is Troubadour. Again, he's reasonably popular. He's new enough to appeal. He's got a lot of colorways that we have not seen. They could do all kinds of fun things with him. He hasn't been used for BreyerFest in a couple of years, so it's a possibility. Next up, and this one hurts. I will say that just because I think they could be used doesn't mean I want them to be used. Because lots of these I would be really trying to get more than one of, and even more than the ones that I have on my tickets. So this guy would hurt if they chose him, but I think Fireheart is a distinct possibility. He's pretty darn popular. We all kind of saw with Blue Zeus last year and with all the other releases they've done on this. While he has had quite a few releases, he's still not been just overburdened with colorways. So there's lots of different things they could do. And he is really dynamic. Again, if they wanted something to stand out for their 75th anniversary, they could do a lot worse than Fireheart. And rounding out my top 5 is Weather Girl. She's dynamic. She's gorgeous. She's had quite a few different colors on her, but not excessive. And she's crazy popular. A lot of people love this girl. This is Flamingo, I think. Yep, this is Flamingo, in case anyone hadn't seen her. So, those are my top 5. Those are the 5 that Khaleesi will get to choose from. So I'll let you know what her pick is at the end. And now it's time to reveal my pick, my number 1. But before I do, I will say it's the 75th anniversary. And I think that Breyer is going to find a lot of different ways to surprise us this year. I think there are going to be lots of either colorways different or micro runs or just limited runs, or they'll surprise us wholly with something new at BreyerFest. I think we've got some of that coming because I think that they're going to pull out all the stops. That said, it's their 75th anniversary. So I could see them going back to earlier in their history for the surprise model. If they decide that the surprise model should be something both vintage and popular, I think they'll go with this guy, the semi-rearing Mustang. This is the San Domingo on him from many years ago now. He's a popular guy. He's a beautiful old mold. He, again, has that dynamic attitude. I would have chosen the Fighting Stallion, but he showed up in the auction. So I don't think they'll use him. That said, I think this guy is fair game. And I know I've got a couple of friends that would hurt deeply, and I feel your pain. And I feel your pain because my number 1 pick, and this really does hurt, I don't want them to do this. It will be a riot trying to get all of the different colors. People will be waiting in line for the leftovers for a crazy amount of time. I don't want it because I'd want them all. But my pick is Fireheart. I think it would be really cool to see him in some different colors. If they do this to me, if they kill me by making this guy into the surprise model, I hope they at least give us a Palomino. I think that would be stunning. But they could do, he hasn't had an Appaloosa. He's only had, maybe 2 Pinto patterns is all. Maybe there's 3 because Blue Zeus was a Pinto. And they could do solids. They could make this guy look amazing. And I really don't want him to. I want him actually to pick something I don't want at all so that I can just not buy them and be very happy. But I think that this is what they're going to do to us, guys. So let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong or if you think I'm right. Or if you have a different pick. I want to know. That said, I will see you very, very soon in another video. I will be talking about what we are going to be doing at BreyerFest this year, any changes in the schedule, new things, and maybe showing off a little bit of the stuff that we have for sale. We'll see how that goes. Definitely follow me on Instagram to see some sneak peeks of sales horses and to get our schedule ahead of time, as well as other posts of our trip as it goes along. And the blog is starting. We leave on Tuesday, so that's a week from tomorrow as I'm filming. So it is so close, guys. I'm so excited for BreyerFest 2025. I will see you guys there. Thank you so much for watching, and bye. Which one do you like? Come here. Which one do you like? Do you like any of them? Okay, we're gonna go with Vermeer. Good job, baby girl. Good girl. Oh, it's a good girl. Yes, Caesar worked hard. She picked Vermeer. Yes, she did.